Hello, YouTube. It's me again in my office, and haven't done a lot of decorating. I know I've got a America the Beautiful calendar over there because patriotism. That's so me, right? It is, but I think dissent is patriotism, and so does Howard Zinn because that's a quote from him. But I do have a nice "Don't Lose Control" game that's kind of decorative. I got that for Christmas, and got some licorice root over there for, an alternative for people who need something to chew on to quit smoking. But today I was actually going to talk about some other things. I just went to the gas station, got myself some coffee, and saw that on February 6th, coming up, there's going to be a ban on flavored Juul cartridges. And these gas stations, I guess, are having to sell off their remaining stock before the ban. So they're like, "Oh, there's a sale on the mint flavor." So that's interesting. Right after the raise of the minimum age for buying cigarettes from 18 to 21, you know, things are happening quick, especially in the worlds of addictions and therapy and whatnot. But also, somebody clipped for me this article from the Denver Post about how interlock devices could possibly be causing car crashes. And so they're looking at what other technologies can we come up with. I guess in Japan and other places, there's like this monitor that always is detecting whether or not there's alcohol, and it's like right in the middle of the steering wheel, and just looking for the presence of alcohol in the air. And yeah, having to reach over and grab something and then blow into it like that and put it down. It's just as bad as texting and driving. Maybe I can see that. But anyways, we're already 2.5 minutes into this video, and we're not talking about what I wanted to get off my chest. Professional silence. It's a term that I've been talking about with Misty a bit, and it's something that's been on my mind lately. Basically, there are people in every trade who don't belong in that trade, but there are traditions and protocols in place that protect people like that, such as your former employer is, legally liable if they say anything bad about you to your new employer. You could sue them, right? And so there are questions that they're allowed to answer, like, is he eligible for rehire? But pretty much the details of why is off limits. And what that does is when somebody gets fired with cause from one place, they find a job in some other competitor, and that can be good for forgiveness and redemption in your life, as far as the person. But what it can also do is just push somebody who doesn't belong in that field into another business just down the road, And I remember running into this with the union that I worked for when I was an electrician. And it was impossible to get someone fired. You could get them laid off, but you couldn't get them fired. Like, you could be sleeping on the job, and you're not going to get fired. You're going to get your pink slip and get your regular layoff, and you're going to be able to draw unemployment because if you're working for a union, the hiring hall has a lawyer. So all of the contractors were deathly afraid of firing anyone They would just lay them off, and they'd go back to the hiring hall and sign the books, and they'd wait their turn for the next job that they'd go out on with another contractor. And the contractors didn't dare talk to each other about who's horrible and who you don't want working for you, because there were also lawyers that had nothing to do with the union that would put up billboards saying, "Do you think you've been blackballed? Call our legal agency and find out what you can do about it." You know, and blackballing, just the idea of, somebody has been a bad employee in one place, and so you're going to tell other employers, hey, look out for this guy, and that's a bad thing. What that does is it keeps people who don't belong in their respective fields in work, and more problems happen down the line. And in my current profession, I'm actually legally not allowed to talk about other people, the rumors that I've heard about other job agencies where, you know, people have been doing therapy and doing piss poor jobs at it, you know? And so these therapists that, they might be jumping from one agency to another, every other year. They burn their bridges, and then they find another employer, and they find another employer, and there's no Yelp about them, because they aren't hanging out their own hat, and on their own shingle. They're not, going into private practice where somebody could put public comments about them. No, they're working for employers all the time, and that's because if they were in private practice, they would be out of business really quick. They would lose all of their clients. But by working for state agencies and large agencies that do therapy, there are some piss poor therapists out there, and they turn people off from the idea of therapy altogether when they have a run-in with these bad therapists. And I wish there were more that could be done to warn future employers of these people, because I've recently heard a bunch of rumors that I'm not allowed to share, the juicy stuff, but I do know that there are people that don't belong in their profession, and what happens is professional silence. People get allowed to resign rather than get fired. People get allowed to move on and then, piss in some other pool. It's just not, it's not right. And I wish more people said more about people who just are operating in a way that's just unbecoming of their profession. And unfortunately, we have a culture where if anything were to affect somebody, even if it were true, it could be actionable, because we're so litigious in our society that keeping people in the know about, a possible bad hire is something that would be a risk for litigation. Well, that's all I really wanted to say today about professional silence, but it'll probably come up later in another YouTube video. Thanks everybody who showed up for the live stream yesterday. I know it was unannounced, they always are, but maybe a couple more will happen in the weeks to come, so be looking for those.